Hey everybody, welcome to Creative Conversations with David and Donna. I'm David.
I'm Donna.
And I'm Seth.
Yeah, that's your cue. Yeah, that's where you
We're
get to
looking
do
at
it. Seth's back with us again, not because he did anything this time. It's just he wanted to hang out. What I meant by that was last time he was here, he had just published a play, and since then, nothing has changed, right?
Well, no, a few things have, because he had all of his ideas for creating his universe, and he's kind of changed his mind about how to present the universe. So we'll definitely talk about that.
I have.
Yes.
Oh, because I remember I talked with you about it, because you were asking me about something about like comic books and novels, and she brought that up to me, and I mentioned that. Well, I've read plenty of Batman novels and Spider-Man novels, so things that are in comic books can definitely also be presented in novels, just like being presented in movies or TV shows. That's the beauty of characters, is they can go across all forms of media. That is what I love talking about and learning more about, which is why I wanted to be involved with this business, stay creative. That's why that's my interest in it all, is just the creative process. So yes, we can definitely talk about that. That is a good point. I apologize for saying nothing has changed.
Oh, it's all good.
Your hair's grown a little bit more.
It
That's
has.
Seth again.
I have hair now, guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Do you have to cut it all off again, though?
God, I certainly hope not. I don't think so either.
Okay, good. So, before we started recording, you started talking about you were going to go see the new movie directed by Clint Eastwood, Richard Jewell.
I have to be honest with you, I haven't even heard of that movie. So
Have you heard of the man Richard Jewell?
I don't think so.
So, back in, I think the 90s,
It was the 90s.
there was a bomb in Centennial Park.
Yeah, it was during the Olympics. That was, I think it was in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was the St. Louis Olympics, and there was a bomb, and this guy, the security guard, he's just a normal security guard named Richard Jewell, he found the bomb. Like, I think before the bomb threat was even called in, or maybe it was, like, soon after, but point is, he found the bomb, and he was like, oh, crap, and then he, like, alerted everybody and, like, was instrumental in getting everybody out and getting safe away from the bomb, because he actually found where it was, and he was a national hero. But tragically, this movie, Richard Jewell, it's a big commentary on the media, because what happened in real life was the media got a hold that Richard actually became the FBI's #1 suspect for planting the bomb.
Oh my goodness.
And the reason why is because he was a overweight, white, mid-30s male who was single. And so he fit the profile for somebody who's angry at society. And so the media got a hold of that and just completely trashed this dude's life. This guy who was like a hero, completely trashed his life, said that they just ate it up. And of course the masses ate it up, like, oh yeah. And just this complete, all because he fits this profile of, he's a fat man. It's like, well, he must have planted the bomb. He can't be a hero. He's fat. He can't be a hero. And then eventually they did actually find the guy who planted the bomb, who definitively did it. And so Richard Jewell's name was cleared. But now, here we are. Clint Eastwood has made this movie telling the story of that, and it looks really good.
It does look good.
But we don't know, because you didn't get to go see it, and why not?
I did not get to go see it. So it was me, my best friend, is actually going to Tulane right now, and my younger brother. We were in Hammond, going to the AMC there, and my brother, who is not 17, could not get in because he did not have an ID. So we ended up having to go do different things, which I thought was kind of dumb, because it's not going to be one of those, crazy rated R movies. If anything, it's like it's history.
Like, the reason it's rated R must be because it's intense themes. Right. And it's like, what is that even? Intense themes? I guess there's cursing in it.
I guess.
I mean, I guess that's why. Which is so ridiculous that they're telling, is he 16?
He's about to be 16.
About to be 16, so let's just say round up. Let's say he's 16. That they've decided a 16-year-old can't go see it because a mean word is said. This movie that's about history. It's probably very important to learn, and probably has a lot to say. Clint Eastwood made this movie because he had a lot to say about it and wanted to make a point. I love Clint Eastwood. I think he's a great director. American Sniper is a fantastic movie, which is sort of the same thing, because Clint Eastwood had something to say about about Chris Kyle.
Right.
So he made American Sniper, and I think that's sort of what this is. But now you don't get to know about that because you're not old enough. Even though he's like walking around with the beard and looks like a full grown man.
Right.
But they've decided like the rating system decided that you can't, which is just so bizarre to me.
No. Okay, teenagers. So
I get it.
One day you will have teenagers. And somebody has decided that there is a reason that movie is rated R.
Right.
I mean, if Clint Eastwood wanted 15, 16-year-olds to see the movie, he could have easily made this type of movie PG, in my opinion, even PG-13. So I'm not sure what line he crossed, and I'm going to look it up. But, I mean...
You look up a parent guide for it.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I mean, certainly there's something in there that whoever made those standards thought is just better if we kept away from children under a certain age. But what were you about to say?
I think it's probably definitely aimed towards an older audience who remembers it happening. Because, I mean, I think with that kind of thing, you forget those little blimps. In it's one of those things where it's big when it was big, and then everybody forget about it, unfortunately. So I think it was maybe meant to be a reminder and then paint the story the correct way. I think that's probably what he was going to get at in the movie. I don't know. I didn't get to go see it.
Yeah, I would assume that. I sort of took it as the movie is marketed towards people about our age, probably like 20-year-olds to 30-year-olds, because we wouldn't really remember. Like we weren't born yet, and if you're 30, you were like 10 years old or whatever when it happened. So I feel like it'd probably be for people like us who are old enough to comprehend the story but haven't heard the story at all.
It's funny because I'm old enough to have heard the story and I don't know it or remember it. I really don't. I sort of kind of halfway when you started talking about it, but let me read this to you. Okay. So there's supposedly moderate violence and gore, some disturbing injuries shown at the bombing scene, bodies covered in blood, and then there is profanity, and I don't know if it's complete. Well, 30 uses of expletive with the F word, so,
Cool.
And the stronger mother effer word. So
mother effer.
So severe profanity. So if they had wanted the audience that y'all were trying to get in, they could have easily curbed the profanity. But I mean, if that's the way the story was told, or Clint Eastwood thinks the story has more power, or whatever, I mean, whether we agree with it or not, there is a nationwide idea about where the lines are for what age should see what things. I mean,
but it's such a bizarre thing when you really start thinking about it, how we've drawn these lines, and you know what, lines need to be drawn somewhere. I totally get that, because at a certain point, yes, it is ridiculous that Nick could not go see this movie, but if Nick gets to see it, then what's to stop someone 1 year younger than Nick from seeing? You have to set a line, and you have to stick at the line.
Right.
It just sucks. Because come on. Come on,
well,
dude.
I mean, honestly, there is the use of profanity just in general conversation, and words over time change. I mean, F is the biggest one, but I mean, is that ever going to not be?
And 100 years ago, if you said darn, that was just as bad. Darn was the curse word.
Well, you were saying it instead of damn. Which,
yes, exactly.
Because it was in the Bible and all these
right,
things.
Right, yeah, so you'd say darn. But the point is darn was damn. But now you can say darn. Yeah, now you can say darn.
You can say damn as far as that goes. I mean,
know,
nobody really cares.
No one really cares now about damn. Damn sort of become this it's getting less and less, I've noticed. But still, it's still a curse word when probably didn't used to be. And darn used to be. Now darn definitely is not a curse word. Darn is what they want you to say. That's what they want you to say is darn instead of...
Those darn kids.
Those darn kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, try to think about it like a young child just learning to speak and walking around, the first words they hear are the F word, and there are children
I've
that way.
It.
Right.
My little sisters, they had one of my little sisters, who was 5, she just was going around oh, that's bullshit, all the time.
That's not proper.
And it's don't do that. Yeah.
But I mean, if we're doing it in front of them, that's where they learn it.
Yeah, it's the parents' fault. So thanks, Dad.
I mean,
I don't mean to. I'm joking because I didn't mean to call out my parents you're horrible.
No, but I'm just saying any parent. If we really want that to be a society standard, then we have to stop doing it.
Right.
You know, and I mean, what is the big deal? It's language, and if that's the word that you need to say to get your feelings out,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the way I was brought up is my mom didn't ever sugarcoat anything, like you know, because that's life, you know, that's life. And I guess I just have a unique lens on it. Is you know, you're gonna experience it one way or the other. I mean, no, we shouldn't indoctrinate our kids into, like, you know, you shouldn't curse in front of your kids. You know, like, there's a way you should act, but you shouldn't, like. I just hate it when I know these people that have been, like, sheltered their whole life, and then once they get out into the real world, it's like it's really scary for them.
They are screwed,
right?
Because they're not.
So there's got to be some kind of happy medium. At my point.
Well, as a parent with teenage children, I don't remember when it all started, but somehow we all just yell the F word very freely in front of each other all the time. And I mean, some people are just like, look, but it's just how we communicate.
Right. Honestly, it's funny because what 4 months can do. So I was gone, and I mean, the only person that really cursed in my house was my father. And then, because, you know, we all just, like, you know, come back, everybody's cursing. I'm like, okay.
No,
I mean, like,
well, this is the funniest story. So Seth came to visit my theater classes when he came back, and he was just talking in front of the class, saying what all he was saying. And he's like, and I'm you know, I'm trying not to curse in front of y'all. You know, I cursed a lot in basic. I'm like, Seth, you've already cursed 3 times. He didn't even realize it. He's in front of the class, just coming and spilling out of him. He didn't even realize it was so funny.
One time I was just chilling here at your house, Donna, and I hear from the kitchen Amelia shout, "Who ate my effing Oreos?" Just the funniest thing in the world to me. I'm like, wow, someone ate her effing Oreos.
She was effing mad.
She did not say effing.
No, she did not. And
like,
I did not worry about it.
Someone ate her. Did you eat her Oreos?
It was not me. It was not me.
The mysterious mystery of who ate the Oreos.
Who ate the effing more Oreos?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's just always an interesting thing. But it's not just language. So getting back to the topic we were discussing. How much violence is inappropriate for a 16-year-old to view?
You know, that's a good question.
I think that violence is not necessarily, like, the problem. Like, seeing the way it's depicted, like, in a Call of Duty game where it's just, like, shooting and whatever, like, but violence that you want to actually consider how much you're showing a kid is, like, real intense violence. Like, okay, for me, my opinion, at the in this movie, another movie directed by Clint Eastwood, American Sniper, at the end of the movie, it just says that with black screen with white words, it says Chris Kyle was shot by this man that he was taking out for shooting lessons, this veteran who had PTSD. It says it in like, it's just words. And to me, whenever I saw that movie, I would think I was like 16, that affected me, just the words, that affected me a lot more than playing Call of Duty and actually seeing people shot, or just watching a movie where actual people are shot. And the reason that affected me a lot more is because it was violence that was presented in this, like, very intense, very real, like, heart-wrenching way that, like, hits you, and it really messes with your head and makes you think a lot, especially as a young kid. And if I had read that whenever I was 10, I wouldn't even be able to comprehend it, what that even meant, really. So that's the kind of thing I would consider. Not necessarily how much are you seeing people, how much blood are you seeing everywhere, but more like how much real intensity are you presenting. So it's not about violence, it's about intensity.
I think you bring up a good point. I think our generation has been kind of desensitized to violence because you just see it everywhere. You see it on the news. You see it in video games like Call of Duty. So, like, the actual act of violence isn't, I don't think it really has much of an effect on a kid anymore. But if you put it in the right light, like you were saying, you put, like, so it's not just shooting a gun. That doesn't have any effect on the kid, in my opinion, when they're watching a movie, at least. And but you shoot a gun at the guy dies. Now you watch the family mourn over it.
Yeah.
And then all of that collectively, like like, for example, you wouldn't have a 6-year-old watch the beginning of Saving Private Ryan.
Ooh,
right. That's because not just violence, that's intense,
That's
very
intense.
real, gruesome violence that happened, and
Right.
it's presented in such a way that the intensity's turned up. It's taken very seriously, and watching that, you feel this tightness in your chest of the seriousness of the situation, and that will affect a kid a lot more, I think, than any just blood.
Okay, so what you're saying, though, is that the reading about the violence affected you more. Do you feel like more than if they had shown that scene in the movie where,
No, I don't think it would have affected me more if I saw the scene. But what I'm saying, if I would have seen the scene of Chris Kyle getting shot that way, it would have affected me more than the words.
It would have affected you more?
More than the words, yes. But what I'm saying is that those words still affected me more than watching a war movie that is just like The Expendables, for example.
Right.
Like
it's because you have like this emotional connection.
It's almost like the scale. Yeah, and it's like if I'm watching The Expendables, the level of like that it's affecting me of seeing all these like guns and people dying, everything is like zero because it's just this fun action movie. But reading words like that affected me more than actually seeing something like that in a movie like The Expendables. Is that making sense?
I want to know what led up to you feeling that way. I mean, if you went and sat in a theater and somebody just put the words on the screen without any other context, it would just be like, oh. So obviously through the movie he had done a phenomenal job of setting up
of who Chris Kyle was.
Right, and what he had contributed and how he should be a hero or whatever the situation was. I've never seen the movie, but I'm just saying that it's not the words that affected you. It was the lead-in to it.
It was the lead-in to it, but then reading the words is when it hit me.
Like,
in the same way that watching Saving Private Ryan would hit me, but the way I'm not hit while playing Call of Duty.
And again, because that's more of an entertainment value.
And it's an entertainment value, and it's not intense. That's the thing. It's all about the intensity. Intense situations will affect you more if there's no violence. If it's just this really intense scene, I can't handle that sometimes. I mean, I forget what show I was watching, but I was watching this Netflix show, and like these. It's called Glow, actually. It was it's a show about wrestling, but it got really intense with some of the stuff that was happening and dealing with some really heavy issues. And I was like, I need to turn it off. And like,
what kind of issues were so heavy you had to turn it off?
Oh, just stuff about it takes place in the 70s, I believe. Yeah, it takes place in the 70s, and there was this Jewish girl and this Chinese girl. There's just this great scene between them where they talked about how the Jewish girl's father won't even live in a house without an attic just in case he has to hide, and that the Chinese girl barely escaped from the massacres that were happening in China, and that most of her family died, but they got on like the last boat out, like stuff like that. And I was just like, and it was just really well acted, really well set up. And then they started like crying and just hugging each other, and I was like, that's intense. I can't watch that. That was like, hearing about those kind of stories is more intense to me than watching people shoot each other.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? Like, even just hearing about what the Holocaust was. And because it's real.
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
like the movie Schindler's List.
Right.
Like, that was supposed to be painted in a dark light with a whole bunch of realism. Yeah. And that's why it's such like a gut-wrenching movie to
I would
watch.
rather, like, if I had like a 10-year-old child, I would rather... To me, I think that if I showed a 10-year-old child what's like the most action... Rambo's still pretty intense, actually, because it's this stuff. But let's say like
Terminator?
Terminator. Let's say I watch Terminator, which is like, I think is a great movie, but it's still just, it's just an action movie.
Yeah.
If I showed a kid Terminator full of like the guns and the shooting and the violence and everything, if I showed a kid Terminator and I showed a kid Schindler's List, which has a lot less of that, I guarantee you the kid would be like more freaked out by Schindler's List.
That's true.
Because they'd be like, oh my God.
Well, another thing there is the level of realism.
Right.
And
I think that's what it is. It's how real is it?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How much can you connect with it?
Which is why, like, when the media goes off of it, and this is a big deal, like, it's always been a big deal since video games were a thing, but video games cause violence and all that stuff like that. And, you know, I think as somebody who plays a lot of video games, my first reaction is, no, it doesn't. But, I mean, like, maybe it does. I'm sure it contributes. But I'm also of the belief that if you are a kid who shoots a bunch of people and you happen to play Call of Duty, it's not Call of Duty's fault. There was something else affecting you.
Oh, absolutely.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? I think maybe the Call of Duty could have amplified it a little bit, but millions and millions and millions of people play Call of Duty and don't shoot people. But like a small percentage, like extreme, like 5 to 10 people that have played Call of Duty have like been like shooters. Something was wrong with those 5 to 10 people that had nothing to do with Call of Duty.
Right.
I can agree with that, but I have to say, think about the opposite of what you're saying. Imagine that people were raised playing some kind of a either video game or something where everyone just treated everyone kindly. And I mean, I know that's not how our world is set up.
Right.
But if the general idea of how people treat each other was that we help each other all the time, everything we do affects everybody, we always are helping each other, and that's just our mindset about how we face the world, then if something did happen that was violent, it would be like,
that is true.
So we're so
plenty of
desensitized.
video games are like that.
But we're so desensitized to violence. It's like, let me go just shoot.
But the reason that we're desensitized to violence has nothing to do with video. I think the reason we're desensitized to violence is because the world, it happens so much in real life that whenever you hear about a school shooting, it's gotten to a point almost where it's like, oh, another one?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're I'm desensitized to violence, not because I played Call of Duty, but because I have heard there's a new school shooting every month. I hear the news about a new school shooting. But I see what you're saying though, and you're right, because I know people who play games like Animal Crossing where you just do chores for people, and they're like, but at the same time, those people can still be just as messed up. But you're right, those games do exist, and it's definitely probably. I mean, if I had a kid in front of me, I would give him a Mario game before I gave him a
first-person
shooter. Yeah, I'm
Well,
sorry.
right.
What were you saying?
So, I'm not saying that there's as much violence in the world now as compared to like 1950 or something like that. But kids, at least boys, they always play cowboys and Indians and stuff like that, and toy swords and stuff like that. So it's not like
That's pretty sexist for you to say, Seth.
Oh boy,
That a boy. No, you think girls can't play with swords?
No. I mean,
I'm joking, Seth.
He's like, but I didn't know.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, we're all looking at you sideways.
But you think about the Christmas Story with the kid with the Red Ryder shotgun.
Yeah.
I think there's part of it is it's the evolution of just the way, I don't want to say kids play, but I feel like that's kind of what video games is. Now I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that they don't have some kind of effect, because that would be a lie. Something, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. Something interesting. Well, I went to drill last weekend, and there's a bot that you use to go check out IEDs and stuff. And it used to be just a laptop that you control this bot with. Well, do you know that the Army now, because people were bad at using the
we talked about
laptops,
this. I know what you're talking about.
uses an Xbox remote.
Yeah, which is
So,
because so many people are adept at that. Yeah.
I think that is
it's a good point.
an interesting look on it.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. And you know what? This is going to be like a weird example, but I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems, I feel stupid for saying this, and I thought I was stupid until this happened. So, I've played a lot of video games that involve shooting a bow and arrow.
okay,
Just a video game. I'm not actually shooting the bow and arrow. I just see that happening.
right.
So whenever I have a bow and arrow, and whenever I first shot it, I knew how to hold the bow because of what I've seen in the video game. I knew that you put it in your left hand, you hold it out, you pull the drawstring all the way back, and then you just let go of the arrow and it shoots. I knew that, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, that's just instinct. Apparently, no, it's not, because I had friends come over, like, oh, I want to shoot it, and I had to, like, stand behind them like a romantic movie and, like, show them how to put, you know what I mean? Like, they just couldn't grasp it at all.
You learned the skill.
But literally, just because I've seen it happen in movies, and I just the way I taught them was, okay, so you saw that movie where the guy shot the bow? Just do whatever you think it is you're supposed to do with that. Same thing with
People
guns. I mean,
learn
like,
by watching.
Mm-hmm.
the reason I know how to shoot airsoft guns because I've watched. I mean, if I okay, so like because I had airsoft guns that I just knew, like, okay, you hold it like this, you put the grip here, and you aim and you close your left eye so you have your right eye open, and then you pull the trigger, and then this is if I go to the shooting range with my dad who owns miniguns, and he hands me a gun and he goes to teach me how to reload it. I'm like, I already know. Like, I figured it out because this is the. Maybe I've never reloaded this one, but I know that this is the bolt. So if you pull back the bolt like this, and the shell should pop out, and then you just load it in here because I just know how to do that. And it feels dumb to say because I played Call of Duty, but because I've played video games that are getting more and more realistic, I know how to reload a gun.
Having never held one in your hand.
I never held one in my hand. Now, also, I have been shown how to actually do that, but I think that, like, I genuinely believe that right now, if I had never reloaded a gun, you could hand me, like, just a rifle, and I could probably figure out how to load the clip. And you know, I know that there's an ejection button, and then I know that you put the clip in, and you have the bolts. I know that there's a switch for semi-automatic, depending on the weapon, and
That's true.
You know, I know these things relative to that. I know that you put the stock on your shoulder and you hold it there tight. You know, I just know these things not only because I've done it, but because
you've watched
because I've watched it happen so many times.
And again, what I'm saying is, wouldn't it be amazing if the video games that we played had all this realistic examples of all the wonderful things that people can do for each other besides kill each other?
I will say this. There was this game I played as I was at the beginning of middle school called Civilization Revolution.
I love that game.
And because of that, it helped me really well in history class because all of a sudden, because of this game, I know all of this history. Like I know different economic systems. I know explorers like Galileo because it's all in this game. And I honestly, I think if you can teach anything in a fun way. So video games, honestly, like if you presented the right information.
Donna's waving her hand.
And that is a really good way of teaching because people learn stuff, good or bad, without them knowing it because they're having a good time.
That is my entire approach, but of course I don't design video games. But
Right.
Maybe you should.
Well, maybe that'll be part of
Maybe you should call up your principal right now and quit and just go design a video game.
David, stay creative.
For a long time, I wanted to be a video game designer. I'd love to be a video game writer.
I mean,
is that a thing?
Look at what we're doing. I mean, we are on the track to do whatever we want to do. And,
you're right.
Know, that can be...
I've always said, like, you know, before Stay Creative was a thing, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, I just want to write for anything that needs someone to have something written, and video games need that. I mean, you have story arcs in it and characters. I mean, it's actually really interesting. I've watched a lot of stuff about that, and there are these people who know nothing about designing video games. They know nothing about, like, how to get it on computer and program or anything like that. They just write the script for, okay, so Garrus says this whenever Shepard talks to him, and then Shepard can respond with these things, and, well, that leads down this branching path. And or if it's just a straightforward linear game, they have to write the story that goes with it, and I'd love to do stuff like that. So maybe,
that sounds cool.
And maybe, you know, here's the thing, the games you're describing, they do exist a lot. And actually, there's some of those fun games. For example, Minecraft.
Right.
Most popular game in the world, and there are no guns in it. Yes, you kill zombies and, like, skeletons coming at you with a sword, but I wouldn't say it's a violent game.
No,
and you're just building things. There are games like Civilization, like you said, that you can learn things from. I mean, I know that, for example, Roman legionnaires built roads, because in Civilization, when I play as Rome, and I'm a legionnaire, I can build roads, and no one else gets to do that in the game. So you do learn these things, and you're right, and like helping people and things like that. And it does. Oops. And I think I dropped our special rock. We're all holding special rocks.
They're all green.
I don't think we've mentioned that yet.
Yes, everyone has a green jade rock.
Oh, we've been talking for 30 minutes. Here we are. We were like, what are we going to talk
about?
I
know, I told you, we just got to get started. Did you lose your rock, Seth?
No.
Seth put it in his pocket or something. He can't figure out where it is.
It's in my pocket.
It's okay.
Cool. I put your phone over there, by the way.
Yeah, he had him sitting... Never mind.
Yeah.
So somewhere that we'll just not just talk about. Now, do you want to know what we're saying? Just on top of some of my stuff. And David, no, I didn't want it to be on top of my stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I have a thought that we needed to come back to.
I want everyone to comment what you think it was.
I love that.
Please.
I was going to say, I remember now that we're going to use these stones in the play that we're going to do next, but I don't want to get too far off onto that. We actually do need to switch topics, though. So,
we do.
You are starting to write
I am.
a novel based on all the ideas from Pelican that you talked about last time we were here. So how is that coming along?
So it's coming along. Kind of took a break from it because I had to do some stuff this week, but like Christmas shopping.
Yes.
But so I was thinking, because the problem, well, it's not a problem, but the thing about making a comic book is you need an illustrator, right? And then that presents all of this like other work that you have
this whole new world of
right. Which a lot of it I don't know how to do, frankly. And there's nothing wrong with comic books at all. And then I was thinking what I really wanted to accomplish with, the story of the Patriotic Pelican. And then, I sat down and I was thinking, and I was like, well, having the art side of it would be really cool, but that's not what I want. I was like, I want to develop this character. And then, the best way, other than watching a movie, to develop a character, in my opinion, is writing a book where it's a narrative and it's a first-person point of view.
For the character.
Right. So the idea for it now, which is what I'm going to stick with, is instead of there being 5 different comic series, it's going to be a 5 book.
I was about to ask that question. How many books? So 5 books.
Yeah,
Wow.
outlined. That's going to fit 5 books.
It's outlined.
Cool.
Because I outlined the comic series, and now it's instead of drawing pictures, I'll draw the pictures with words.
Yes.
So
Description.
and I think it's a whole lot better because I can dive into the way I do humor a little bit better. Because I was trying to figure out how I was going to do that in a comic book. Because if you read the play that me and Ms. Vanos worked on together, I have a very specific way I do humor. I don't know how exactly that would translate onto the pages of the comic book. But I know if it's all words, I can do it the way I want. Plus, I can get inside the characters' heads a little bit better and display it a whole lot. And articulate the things I want to be articulated, all while not having to, meet up with this illustrator the whole time.
Yeah, collaboration is very helpful, but it can be a lot to work around.
Right.
Yes.
Plus, it's it's a lot easier because I can just especially with phones.
Yes.
Wherever I'm at, I can sit down and write if I need to.
Yeah, I've done that a lot. When I'm going down the road, sometimes I'll click the voice memo and just start speaking lines that I'm thinking, and then and I can say wait, scratch that, and go again, or just any thoughts that I have about it. I have tons of stuff like that ready to go, and I have tons of notes. When I'm at work, you just pull up your note and be like, okay, so at one point he should totally do this. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Cool. That's how, and over time, all of a sudden you have a bunch of stuff in front of you, and you have enough material to write a book. It's all about producing the content.
Yeah.
And I think my thing is, if I had an illustrator, I'd be held back from the content end of it because I'd always be waiting for them to catch up where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what if they draw something you don't really like?
Right. You see, that's all tough stuff to deal with. Now, my idea is if I get this book, well, not if, when I get this written, because it will be written.
What a bunch of losers!
Right?
I'm kidding. I do the same thing.
But I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it get filmed, but I have to put it in a book first. The other idea with the book end of it is I can deliver a message that way. I can put a theme to it. I can put some morals in there, rather than just
goofy action.
I don't mean to ruffle
ahead.
your pelican feathers again, but why not just write a movie script?
Well, I guess that is an idea.
Just start there.
I think I want to do the book first, though.
Okay.
But because then I have something that it'd be easier to make a movie script off of that.
Do you have a word count in mind?
A word count for the book? Probably somewhere in the realm of 150,000 words.
Because you need to make sure that your 5 books, not that they have to be, but I would think are similar in length. Just where you cut the content for each one.
It's probably going to be it's pretty straightforward with the chapters I have outlined so far. I guess I don't know. I'm probably gonna start reading a bunch of books again just to see the different layouts and pacing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because you know what you want it to be, but you just need that example to go to at least look at.
Right.
So how much have you written?
I've written the prologue, and I've started the first chapter. I got a little bit distracted.
Oh, I got extremely
That's okay.
distracted. This is the week before Christmas, even though we're going to post it the week of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister came, which is a wonderful thing, and visited, and my computer went kaput. And so I think the universe was like, Donna, stop, take a break. And so whether I wanted to or not,
Right.
like I had to just take a step
Oh
back.
my God, Christmas is next
Is
week.
it Wednesday? Next Wednesday.
And then after that is WizCon. Are you going to WizCon?
Where is WizCon?
It's in New Orleans. First weekend of January.
Okay.
Oh, I might go.
So that'll be while we're still off of school, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is right before we go back to school. Which, that reminds me. The weekend of WizCon, I cannot record on Sunday. I will be dressed as Daredevil at WizCon.
All right.
We'll work around that. Yeah, I'm doing a Daredevil cosplay. Because I've always done, I always just bought a cosplay online, but this year I'm like, no, I gotta make one. So I'm gonna make my Daredevil cosplay, which is just buying a sweater, to be honest. 'Cause I'm doing the Daredevil that's not really it's rough and tough.
Oh, like on the show?
Yeah, I'm doing the show. Yes, exactly. So I gotta get that. That'll be fun. I can't wait for that. But Christmas is next week.
That is crazy.
Christmas.
I haven't felt the Christmas mood this year. I don't know about y'all.
It came so fast.
I'm in it, but
We'll go.
I'm in the Christmas mood
You go.
because it's a good year. I'm very excited for all the cool stuff going on. Well, here's the thing. Here's why that sentence sounded so weird. Because I was gonna say I'm very excited for all the stuff I'm gonna get, but then halfway through the sentence I realized that sounds like I'm a spoiled brat. So I said stuff going on instead.
Right.
My mom is such a great person, and I said I don't need anything for Christmas because I'm a 19-year-old and I don't want you to have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There is a giant stack of presents under the tree for me,
That's awesome,
which
man.
is cool. Just to clarify,
That's a good
also, before we buy presents for ourselves, my parents always donate to the Jason R. Christmas
That's nice.
Christmas drive. They're nice people, so that's cool.
What did
That's
they do?
why I'm sort of in the Christmas spirit. They just buy a bunch of toys
To give
Like,
to
toys
give.
for tots.
Yeah, Jason Ard, the sheriff around these parts, he does a Christmas drive where he just collects a bunch of toys and gives it to
Just
children
for
in
the
need.
needy children.
So
Yeah,
my
okay.
parents go and they purchase many toys
Oh, good.
and turn it in. Yes, and that's maybe that's why I'm in the more of the Christmas spirit because of course I'm been a little involved
Right.
and maybe that's why I'm a bit woo.
Woo-woo.
Also, this is the first year that I'm buying gifts for all my friends. Really, I've always gotten gifts for one or two. But now, I can get them for all my friends. They're not even big gifts. They're small, little things, $5 things. But
Right.
it's just something I like doing it. I feel nice.
See, I decided I had to buy more gifts for my siblings because collectively I spent $8 on them. So
Went to the Dollar Tree. Huh?
right. So what I did was it was funny in my opinion. But then my friend pointed it out, and everyone else that I told, they're like, "Wow, that's kind of cheap, man." And but I was like, "But it's funny." And then my sister Kaylani, who's also 18, was telling me how she bought me this gift online and was so excited, but it wasn't going to be here. And I was like, well, damn, I spent $2. So what I did was I bought my brother a bag of marshmallows. I bought my younger sister a Hershey's bar. One of those long
listen
ones.
to the podcast.
And then, no, I'll make sure they don't until after Christmas.
Graham crackers.
And then I bought graham crackers.
So they can make s'mores.
So if they work together, they can make
You're
s'mores.
teaching teamwork.
Okay.
It was beautiful in my head until I heard, until I kind of felt like crap because I took my little sister and she's spending a whole lot of money on my mom, and I'm like, oh boy, and I spent less than that on everyone. But it's kind of crazy because the older you get, it's the more it's just about oh, I gotta get this person this gift, and less about the meaning of Christmas, whether you're religious or not. I think it's time to be with your family and to just
reconnect with friends,
appreciate
and,
life.
But for me, what I've actually found getting older and now having, not really having, but making somehow the money to it's almost like you have no idea how you're gonna do it. But Donna told me, like, you just relax. You're gonna,
the money will come.
You're not gonna starve to death. Like, as long as you're not starving to death. So, I've actually come to find that I'm more in the Christmas spirit and more finding the meaning of it and giving. So I went to Disney and I got a hat for myself. And the only reason I got the hat for myself was because I needed a hat. Mm-hmm. So my mom was like, you're getting a hat for yourself to keep. And I'm like, fine. Because of my eyes, to help with my eyes. But like, all of the money I had to spend at Disney, I'm like, oh, I should get my friend this. Like, I like to give. I like to buy things for people, and that's much more rewarding than, in my opinion, much more rewarding than receiving. And that's why I said, I don't need anything for Christmas, Mom, but have this. Actually, I know one of the things I got. Like, a while ago, I mentioned that I needed a new chair for my desk, and a shipment came in that said, like, secret lab chairs, like the exact one that I mentioned that would be really cool. And they're like, well, you know what it is? Put it on the tree. I'm like, God.
No.
I don't get to just open it? God. I mean, like, what? No, Santa's going to bring it.
That's true. Giving gifts, I mean, that is a great thing.
And it puts me more in it actually does the opposite of what you were saying. For me personally, at least, where I'm most excited to give, Logan and Victoria to listen to this podcast. They love, like, they always get rolls from Texas Roadhouse. They just go get a bunch of rolls from that steakhouse. Yeah, they just always do it. So I got them a gift card to Texas Roadhouse. Mm-hmm. And I know that they're going to, like, scream and cry that I got them that because they're going to be so happy. Like, that's what I'm most excited about for Christmas, is to see that reaction on their face. That's what gets me, like, pumped to do. Yesterday, I hosted. This is related. I'm not just talking about D&D for no reason. Yesterday I hosted my first D&D game where I actually hosted it, and I was so excited the whole day for everyone to come over, like, because I just wanted to give them a fun game, you know, and like I had like bowls of chips. Like I put the chips in a bowl, which a party's fancy if you put chips in the bowl.
Right, absolutely.
And like, did you have some dip? Salsa?
I had some dip available for them, yes, and I had everybody a mug. They had a mug because this is like you need like a tavern drink. You need like a tankard. Yes. So they all had mugs with cream soda. Like I had it already, and only because I just wanted them to like. I was happy to provide this fun time for my pals. That's one of my favorite things to do. So, if you're out there and just buy things for people, my address is, you can mail it there. So no
Mountain Dew? Isn't that the joke?
Mountain Dew.
Oh, that's more video games.
That's more video games. Okay. Mountain Dew and Doritos is the video games one. Okay. To me, D&D, it's all about cream soda because that's the closest thing you can get
to ale.
To actually, like, drinking alcohol. Okay. Or, like, root beer, I guess. And it's like, but, and I gotta, like, drive. And I'm underage, so I don't do that. Weak.
Good boy.
Dude, I didn't want to get we didn't have drinks. Like I got cream soda in the tanker. I'm like, oi, pour me another glass of ale, mate. And I'm Australian, I guess.
Aren't you sorry you missed that stuff?
I'm horrible at accents in D&D. I do my best, but I just always lose them. Like I was playing a British girl last night, and I was like. Like, as the DM, I was the DM, so I had to play all the NPCs, and, like, they met this British girl, so I was like, hello? But then, like, halfway through it, I was like, yeah, I was just talking in my normal voice again, because I got tired of it. Hello, love. I also played a goblin named Spiffy, who wore a hat that looks like Goofy, and he talked, like, he's like, I'm Spiffy, ah!
So for 2 seconds, and then it went back to David.
No, actually Spiffy I stuck with. I stuck with Spiffy because I was like, I gotta stick with Spiffy.
No, did Spiffy ever morph into British girl?
No, I kept them separate. But British girl did almost morph into Spiffy. At a certain point.
I love that.
So, I just want to... the reason it got a little quiet just now is because I could keep talking about Dungeons & Dragons, but I decided to stop to see where the conversation could lead us otherwise. Well, but then it got silent.
All right, Seth, pick it up.
Pick it up.
Or I can just keep talking about Dungeons and Dragons. I could non-stop talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, you could.
Being that it's right before Christmas, we could talk a little bit.
So Dungeons and Dragons. I'm kidding. Please.
Yeah, let's talk about Christmas. What are you doing for Christmas this year, Seth?
Hopefully I'm gonna go see my grandparents.
Where?
I'm gonna play Dungeons
live
and
right
Dragons.
They live right outside of Hammond. I actually used to live up there, so it's kind of like home.
You don't see him often?
I actually just spent the night there last night.
Okay.
But
So y'all have
I
like
like
a
doing
big
holidays
family
over there.
gathering? Like,
usually, yeah.
mhm.
So we should do that. Have like a Christmas kind of meal there.
Cool.
So
That's cool.
I want to go see. You know what? I think maybe I'm not in the Christmas spirit because I haven't done any Christmas things.
Yeah, no,
You know, I haven't gone to see lights or anything like that.
Mhm.
I haven't gone to any Christmas parties. So,
Yeah.
you know, I just kind of do the same thing I do every day. Work
Do you
out.
get invited to Christmas parties?
Huh? Do I get invited to Christmas
Yeah.
parties? God no.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
Well,
say.
again, I'm like in this weird phase for people who don't know right now. I'm like in between school and just getting out of training. So
Right.
it's kind of weird for me. It's not like I have this big social pool of people available to me right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was in school, I still didn't get invited to parties.
Oh, poor baby.
I'm not a party person.
You know, honestly,
Jeez.
I've
It
never.
sounded like you were about to get invited. That's what I read.
But I don't. It was, but I don't actually care. But maybe I do.
Oh, I don't know. I think I don't like. Well, I've never gone. Wild parties and stuff like that. It's not very.
Not very set. Not something you like to do.
No.
You don't like wild parties.
No. That's not really me. At least in this current.
This
life.
current stage.
Who knows? Maybe I'll go to one. I'm like, wow,
This is
Jiminy
the
Crickets.
Look what I've
That's
been
me.
missing.
Jiminy Crickets. The fact that you said Jiminy
Jiminy
Crickets
Crickets.
makes me think that's not going to happen. I don't think you're ever going to be into that because you say the words.
Right. Well, you know, like I don't think I don't know why I use a lot of the dialect and nomenclature I do when I speak, but I try to keep it fresh.
Keep it fresh.
By
Keep it fresh.
using words that aren't from this current point in
In time,
Time.
right? Yeah.
you know, I know the kids like to say lit and stuff like that.
The kids.
Like
The kid-
I'm
how old are you,
not
Sam?
18, right?
So all those kids.
But
Saying
Better
lit.
Yeah.
you know,
And
you
vaping.
You gotta. It's crazy though. You know, when I use like the word dandy or something, the whole room stops and turns like, "Who is this old geezer?" I'm like, actually,
Whenever you use the word geezer.
No.
is that another word?
I like to do the same thing. Do you know that kid in high school who's like super annoying because they learned a bunch of big words and won't stop saying the big words?
Is that you?
That was me.
I feel.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? That kind of kid who
Yeah.
like, shut up, we get it. We get it.
I just
That
know-
was me like in middle school though.
Right.
I'm better now, I promise.
I don't remember that so it must have been middle school.
Right, yeah.
I was like that in middle school too. I'd be like, I know I have a copious amount of words I can share with my.
Yeah, and just, everyone wanted to punch you in the
you know,
face.
the only one you're impressing is the English teacher.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Maybe.
maybe.
Either they're really into it or they're like, this
Shut up,
kid
Seth.
is- this kid.
Oh wow, he knows big words.
Wow,
Well,
great
he
for you.
thinks he knows.
That's a thing too. But you know, that's a thing though. With books, you want to use like a very diverse amount of vocabulary.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Hit that synonym button in Word, man. That's
Right,
my best
no,
friend.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I actually, I learned a lot of words because I used to write poetry back in the day.
You
And then,
still do.
I mean, I'll dabble with it when I feel
You'll
like it.
dabble. Put your fingers in
Dibble-dabble,
it.
dibble-dabble.
But
When I feel like it, I'll just burst out a poem.
yeah, you know, I was really into it though. I'd write them like every day and stuff, you know, and then I don't know.
I don't know if I've seen David's poetry. Have you shared your poems with me?
I have not written poetry in a long time.
Mm.
Like freshman year probably is what I can remember. I think I've tried since then, but it has never come. No, I've written a few things whenever I was like at the lowest point in my life, and I was like, I'm sad. Let's write poetry. I deleted all of them though, so you will never see those poems.
Well, sometimes that's the stuff of great like songs, and you
Mhm.
know.
You ever
Right.
like dream a song? You're like, this is a great song. You wake up, you can't remember it, and you're like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know I could have been a millionaire.
right.
I could have been the biggest deal if I just remembered that song. Gosh darn it.
You know, I remember back when I was like, I don't know, gosh, I must have been like a sophomore in high school, or maybe even younger than that. I would like try to come up with lyrics for songs, and then I would like, you know, the right songs, because I just love music. But I was like, I can't sing. Well, it's a funny thing because I go to watch Rocket Man when that comes out, and I didn't realize that Elton John never wrote a single song that he sang. There was some other guy writing all the lyrics. So maybe I could have had all these song lyrics and had somebody that could have sang, and then boom. But
that's what people.
All those poems.
yeah. I don't know if I still have them.
Oh, you should have kept them.
You see, I was dumb because I would write poetry to girls and stuff, and a lot of them would eat that up. But then it stopped feeling right because, like, I pour my heart and soul out to these here females, and they're just like, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
but
yeah, well, stupid.
Yeah. So now I don't.
Girls are dumb.
I don't write.
Thanks.
My thing with poetry for as far as for other people.
I'm kidding.
Is I'm not gonna write it unless I know there's somebody very important, because like you see, for me, poetry, it comes from like deep from the heart. So like why waste those words on somebody that's not gonna even stick around?
What a loser. Am I right?
Well, no, I think that those are the sentiments that
I don't
people
agree.
relate
I don't
to,
think he's a loser
you know?
either. I'm just
What I'm saying is that's an easy way to think about it, but it's a universal thing you're expressing, and if it is your true deep emotion, a lot of times if you share it, people are like, man, I feel just like that, and even if it's not for another specific person, you can still get the.
That is true.
So
that's what poetry is just like writing. You write a book and it just connects to these people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the name of poetry. I know many poets. They use a fake name and they never reveal who they are. So maybe you could do that.
Maybe I could do that.
Beth Soden, famous poet.
They would never figure it out.
No, there's no way.
But I think it should need to be Souden. Let's just
Souden.
Ooh, Souden. You could just be Souden.
Oh, yeah.
Like how Swearengin is just Swearengin. You could be Souden.
You see, my thing with maybe what I would do is I would write my novels under my name and then write my poetry under a different name, and then right before I die, I reveal it to the world, and they're like, wow. Whoa.
You just can't write any poetry about a pelican.
No. That would give it away.
That would give it right away.
Bad in this podcast.
Yeah, but you didn't say what your name would be. So.
Souden. If it's not Souden, I'll be offended.
Oh, come on now. We can't use Souden because everybody would know.
Yeah,
it'll have to be something. Use whatever name you want for your. Let's see, your middle name is Addison, is that right?
Yeah.
So S.A. Bowden.
Huh?
Right?
Addison?
You see, that's what everybody says.
No, I'm good looking for like S.A.B., S.A. I don't know.
That was my fake laugh.
Because Seth Bowden, S.A. Bowden. I don't know. What's your pen name? Are you just going to do it under Seth Bowden? You're going to keep it?
Yeah, I'll probably keep that.
Seth A. Bowden. You could do that. I don't know. It's just what matter of how you want to play around with it.
When you put that middle initial in there,
that's what I'm saying.
It's a lot fancier.
Yeah, but then people might want to know, and then you're like, I don't want you to know. So, you might
maybe I get it. Maybe I keep A, but change the name.
Alpha.
Yes. What's another good A middle name? Alan. Seth Allen.
Alexander.
Seth
Armijo,
Alexander. What was the next one?
Armijo. Actually, that's the name of a guy I went to basic training with.
You went from Alexander to Armijo.
Like, what? Armand. Seth Armand. Armani. Never mind. Let's just talk about something else. This is kind of lapsing into nothing.
This is going
nowhere
to take some editing.
You think?
I think we've had a couple little pauses I can edit
Probably.
out. I'll edit out this right now.
No, but let me say one last thing about the book and tie it into something we were talking about before.
Okay, please.
So, I think what we were talking about before, the whole rating thing, is you got to know who your audience is.
You're
right. Like, what kind of people do you want viewing? What kind of people do you want reading? Etc. Your material. So I think. You see, with me, I would want not necessarily little kids, but kids to be able to read my novels and stuff like that, because superheroes, that's one of the big appeals. So That is a thing I'll do. I'm not going to put a whole bunch of cursing in there and stuff
Mhm.
because that would just be wrong. So I think before anybody starts anything, you just got to think about your audience.
Oh, it's a huge factor, and it has to do with the length as well. Because certain genres, they don't want they don't want past a certain number of words for that audience. And so
Right.
if you're, and there's also, because I know from books I've written and agents and people I've talked to, middle grade length is different from young adult grade, and trying to figure out, is it middle grade or is it young adult? I mean, there's just all these categories now,
Right,
so
right,
you
right,
might
right.
want to research that a bit before you actually write.
Right, that might be an idea. You see, I wouldn't want probably not a thing for fourth graders, but maybe just a fun book for maybe the Percy Jackson series. I think that's a good example.
Yes.
That's a pretty nice, decent stuff, but not like Stephen King it size,
Yes. Right.
But
That makes sense.
you see, and something because there can be an action-filled book that's not not violent, in a bad way, and even so, I think violence in books is a little bit different from violence
is.
on screen.
But you can still cut audience people out. How parents get all up in arms about books we read in school for whatever reason.
Right.
But
Because
language is a
parents
huge
get all
one.
up in arms and anything.
Well, but a
you can
huge
find.
one is language, and another one is violence and gore. So
Right.
you got to think about it almost like a movie when you are trying to figure out what your audience is.
And you gotta remember, people get mad about anything.
Oh, you certainly
So
can.
there's nothing you're ever gonna write that's gonna not make somebody, probably at least a couple people I can't believe my daughter read this. She doesn't believe. I don't want her believing in pelicans. It's what?
Well, I mean, Crucible, people get up in arm about.
Really?
Really?
Oh,
Why?
yeah. Well, just because they're teaching about witches, even though it's actual history.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. People. Those are the kind of people don't let their kids celebrate Halloween.
Well, I mean, that's
It's
a religion.
It's pretty common. Yeah.
Every year, there's at least one or two of my actors whose parents don't allow them to do
Yeah.
haunted house.
I mean,
Wow.
that's cool and all. I
It's
don't.
their belief.
Yeah, it's their belief, but that's your belief, not your child's belief.
All right.
Well, but I mean, once again, going back to where's the line? I mean, as a parent,
But at
it
that
is your
point, the
job
child's in
to.
high school, and if you're a parent not letting your child celebrate Halloween because of what you believe,
Yeah, that's a lot of judgment right there.
Yeah,
you know?
it is.
So
You're right, but I still think let your kid celebrate Halloween, but that kid is kids get messed up. It's the reason therapy exists, and a big part of it is because of stuff like that.
you're very right. I would have to agree with you.
Yeah, and that just kind of frustrates me. I've known many people like that where it's that kid doesn't get to dress up and have because Halloween's so fun, and it can have nothing to do with witches, but because you interpreted one thing a certain way, your entire family now has to follow it that way because of what you said.
Right.
That has a whole lot to do with just how people feel they should contribute. And, my view of how I parent is very, very different from many other people's because I don't feel like what
a good
I
point.
believe is what they have to believe.
Right.
That's a
Never-
good point because
never.
someone else in some other podcast could hear about you and tell you you're stupid and
Yeah, because I didn't force my beliefs on my children or mandate that they have a certain
or that
GPA
your
or
children
and I
curse.
curse. Right.
I'll tell you what, forcing beliefs on the children, I don't think really it doesn't do anything but harm because they're gonna either feel like they have to conform, and that's stressful, and that's gonna leave some kind of negative impact ultimately, or B, they're gonna be rebellious and find a way around it.
Oh, preacher's kids, prime example.
Exactly,
right there.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Right, but at the same time, just an example, and I don't mean to throw my 5-year-old sister under the bus. I'm sure she'll be upset. This is the second time I'll talk about her, but she was she said whenever she was cursing, she said stuff that was
boy.
she said it was oh, screw the Bible or whatever, because also she's 5, she doesn't know these things. I think it's okay as a parent to tell them not to say that. I don't think
well, I'm not saying the.
I know, but I'm saying I could see the interpretation of wow, so you're not letting her say that, so you're forcing your beliefs. At a certain point, you can step in and draw certain things. It's at certain when children are little, you can bring them to church. You have to do something. She's gotta know where the line is. It's all about lines.
That's the theme of the podcast.
Yeah.
Speaking of lines, in a kind of segue way, words, lines, whatever. I looked it up. So they have here that chapter books like pre-middle grade are from 5 to 20,000 words, whereas middle grade is 30 to 60. So that might be a little shorter way for you to do it, and young adults 60 to 80. So if you're looking at 100 to 120,
how many with 100? How many pages would that be?
Well, that's I guess it depends on the format of the book, and there are different sizes and pages. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so it's real. They always count books by words, not by pages. But anyway, so if you're talking about I don't see yours being above young adult as far as the aim.
I wouldn't either.
So if 80,000 is the uppermost limit,
okay,
you might want to kind of think about that as you're writing, like kind of figure out your chapters and maybe how many words per chapter, just to give you a guide. The 60 to 80 for young adult. I think you'd probably be more young adult than middle, but
I think so too.
It just kind of because generally if you're writing about high school, the target audience is middle grade, because you're always writing for what they aspire to be. So if it's a hero, well, it's look at Disney.
That's true. You're right.
Like middle school kids are watching all those shows about high schoolers.
That's a good point.
So you're writing about you're writing about young adults. So it'd be more the high school kids reading about it. And some of them are much older than young adult too. How old is Captain Constitution? He's up there.
He's a grown. He's like
40s,
30s, 40s.
How old is the Patriotic Pelican?
He's 22.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's young adult in my
So
opinion.
are there high school characters in your story?
Not in the first book. There will be though.
Ooh.
See what
a sidekick, perhaps.
So I'm not gonna say exactly.
Right.
So the Patriotic Pelican. He finds this kid, and he rescues him because there was this group that was basically trafficking people. And this kid, and he tries to find this kid's family, but family's gone.
Oh.
So he takes it upon himself to raise the kid, and so that'll be a character, but that's not gonna be it in the first book.
We ain't got to worry about that just yet,
Right.
but it'll get there. One day we'll be interviewing you about your second, third, fourth, fifth.
Hopefully so. I already published one. They published so.
It exists. Patriotic Pelican is in the universe as a piece of the culture.
Right.
Technically speaking, that exists. Maybe one day in American Literature 101, they'll be reading the Patriotic Pelican.
Hopefully so.
Learning all those lessons.
All the deep. I mean, actually, genuinely, and I know we're getting close to the end, but genuinely, like the play, the Patriotic Pelican, actually was pretty emotionally moving at certain points. Especially towards the end, has some real lessons in there to be taught. So, all joking aside, maybe one day Patriotic Pelican is going to be taught in American Lit 101.
That would be exciting. That would be exciting.
Would.
The famous playwright Beth Souden.
No, the playwright's going to be Seth Bell.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So, well, I feel like if you had a pen name, you would keep it all everywhere. Beth. That's funny. This has been a podcast called Creative Conversations with David and Donna. I feel like it's been a long time since we said this is a podcast, so just in case you forgot, I want to point everybody out.
Actually, you should like us and subscribe.
Please do. Yes. And I hate YouTubers who are like, and smash that notification bell.
I love when people say that.
Okay.
Okay.
Just click the like button. You're actually clicking it. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Creative Conversations with David and Donna. I'm David.
I'm Donna.
And I'm Seth.
Stay creative.